and I should probably not be vlogging, but I'm doing it. For another week, starting now, it's like, oh well, I just need to talk because I don't think I'm talking well right now, so if I use my voice a bit, maybe it'll help. And Chris wrote chapter 8 today. I can make an episode selling Martina. It's like 40 pages long. It's next Christmas out this book. But it's going pretty good. And you guys could give it away for Christmas. It's only like $2 or something. $5, I don't know. And I should drink some liquid. That would help. Got the phlegm. I just paused my drinking for a minute and it all came back at me. After a hot shower, like hot showers kind of dehydrate you, I guess. You need to drink a lot of liquid after a shower. And I haven't done that. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, well. What? Nothing. I got nothing. It's preview pictures that really get me. Because if I look at myself too much, like every preview picture is just me blabbing, it gets kind of hard to observe. But now I've done several shows in a row where I've done other things, like, I don't know, 360 photography in Prague, or seasteading. Those are all images that are not me, and as a result I don't get to talk enough, and as a result I don't talk very well right now. Well, I just don't have any throat to it. I don't know how to describe that. It's like, it's kind of not really come from my belly enough. And the hits on YouTube have been pretty annoying lately. Like, I went up to 92.40 several times, and then back down to 91, 98. And even today, I think I went 91.81. It's back up to 92.05 right now. But it's been circling 92 for a little while, like days. Maybe there's not much traffic, but also it's just kind of like they've gotten really hard ass. I used to be able to cheat a lot more than I can now. It's like you're not allowed to. Look, when they set up playlists and stuff, you have to play the movie to get the address. And even though you're not really watching it, you get a view for that. And if I do my big playlist, which has 213 now, then I get 13 hits, so no, I don't. But I get quite a few at least. I mean, for a while there, I'd leave them on at night when I went to sleep. But now I'm not. It's like, maybe that's why they're penalizing me. Like, when I get negative 20, that's a... Maybe they're negative hits. What's a negative view? I unviewed that. It's a weird thought. I mean, I sound like I really care about that amount of views, but really, my goal is to get to 10,000 so I can stop caring. I mean, then I have to care about subscribers. That's kind of worse because I don't have a method yet to improve or... Well, I don't have a method to increase my views either. I mean, the one day I mentioned my site on Facebook, I got 2,000 views the very next day. So really I should probably just mention it again on there. But I am kind of too proud to do that because I don't want to admit that I care about views. I mean, the whole show isn't really based on views. It's called Practicing Talking. It's not called being entertaining to viewers. It's like I'm just trying to get my voice working again. I mean, I've been in the entertainment industry for 50 years, so that helps a bit. But today I saw a post on Facebook from an old classical quartet that I played with, and I, had a reading with those guys. But that's not entertainment, that's just classical music, it's a different thing. And then what happened? Nothing. I'm just talking to try to open up my throat. I just wanted to test if I was a little louder because I've drunk 3 liquids. And maybe that helps some, but I don't know. Etc. It still doesn't feel free yet. Just like I've got a lot of liquid happening in me. It's still the middle of the week, but my talk is really good today because I've been hydrating very heavily. I don't know, it matters a lot. You gotta drink tons of liquid. It's like I probably is on the edge of too much. But to be able to talk is kind of important. La 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 la. Yeah, that kind of thing. Testing 1, 2, 3. I mean, I can't usually do that these days, but at least on this one particular day, I am under control. And I went back over the shows, but I didn't really have anything to say. I mean, there's a little point on every show that there's like, I need to point out something, but I forgot them all. It's like, well, something. I don't know what. I mean, the only show that needs talking about is that Friday thing about the Sahara Forest Project. I mean, that guy's totally doing it. It's almost like I had it planned when I've been blogging over the year about what needs to happen. And he was listening. No, he wasn't. Yeah, it was just fluke. But really, that's totally down my alley. I mean, it's called the Sahara Forest Project, but I don't see any wood being grown yet. Just plants. But I mean, it has a business model. They could actually make a little money selling food crops. And I mean, at least he's trying to get out back and irrigate a bit of desert. But it's still not really tons of desert, like it needs to be hundreds of acres. We'll see what that goes for. I don't know. But it's really positive, like food and water for the whole North Africa is really huge. So what do I want to see? I mean, that kind of is pretty good. Those Sundrop Farms and the Sahara Forest Project are both excellent things. But we need something bigger, something like on 200 acres or so, that with evaporation ponds. I mean, the book Martina is all about this. It's there's all these green organizations competing with all different agendas to see which is most successful. And I guess in the real world, they should be based on the most successful things from that project. But is it possible to, like, sure, if you're bringing 2-inch or 4-inch seawater pipe into the desert, it's possible to create evaporation ponds and have the water all condense upward and maybe hopefully create rainfall. But that's a question. Like, there are two groups competing in my story, and one of them manages to create rainfall, but the other doesn't. It just blows away. Yeah, it's a very tricky game. The ponds have to be positioned quite carefully, and I don't know, just needs magic, I guess, kind of. But then, yeah, it could create windfall. That'd be cool if it's only rained in the desert. Because we've got evaporation ponds. I wonder if that's a thing. It could be like other wild dreams are coming true.
And I'll quote you, we will get really desperate and we will do desperate things, unquote.
I don't think they have changed so much. I mean, for quite a while, I've been saying we're in a global climate emergency and we need to respond appropriately, and that's using all of the possible things that we know will have an effect. Not the world seems to be thinking, according to the IPCC reports and all these other conservative reports, that this situation is pretty bad, but we can just slash fossil fuel emissions and get out of the problem. But clearly, that's not the case. And in fact, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is assuming that we do some type of carbon dioxide removal. Their favorite thing is something called BECCS, BECCS, which is bioenergy with capturing carbon capture and storage. And the idea of that is we take vegetation of some sort, fast growing bamboo or trees or whatever, and we grow it specifically to capture carbon. We burn that organic material and capture the pure carbon that comes off, and then do something with that carbon, either bury it in the ground or do something with it to remove it. The key thing is removing carbon from the atmosphere ocean system.
Atmosphere ocean system.
Because if we removed it from the atmosphere, right, the levels aren't just going to drop quickly. What's going to happen is the balance with the ocean will change and more CO2 will come out of the ocean into the atmosphere. So we're removing what's in the atmosphere. The atmosphere is being replenished with CO2 from the ocean, which we're also removing. So we remove it from the whole system. Now, the interesting thing is that the concentration of CO2, of course, it's on a part per million level. It's over 400 parts per million, but it's still a trace gas, and it's still difficult to remove it from the atmosphere, although we do have, plants do it wonderfully. But the concentration is higher in seawater, so it seems like it would be easier from an energy standpoint to remove it from the ocean. And if we remove it from the ocean, then the more will be absorbed from the atmosphere. So it doesn't really matter. We have to get it out of the two combined. If we remove it from one, it'll come out of the other one. So that's carbon dioxide removal, and that's a key part of what we have to do. Now, solar radiation management is what you're really getting at, and this is to stave off. Or I don't think we'll do it until we lose the sea ice. I think we're going to lose the sea ice in the summer, September, say, for a few weeks, probably before 2020. And when that is done, all hell's going to break loose in terms of extreme weather events around the planet. If we think it's bad now in terms of torrential rains leading to floods and droughts and things like that, I think it's going to get a lot worse once we have this blue ocean event. And then I think the world will panic enough to, really say, okay, do we have methods to cool the Arctic, for example? And these are the SRM methods. Some are which are starting to be explored. They're certainly being talked a lot more now by the scientific community. They weren't before. Before it was verbatim. It was forbidden almost to even acknowledge that we could even look at some of these things. But right now we've got this big volcano going off in Bali, right? Agung, and it went off in 1963, 64. It put something like a billion tons of sulfur dioxide up into the atmosphere. And it's very interesting. If you just go to Earth Null School now, look at the chemistry. There's a link for looking at chemistry, like nitrous oxides and sulfur dioxide, and you can see, go to that region of the world and you can play it back and forward in time with the slider buttons, and you can see when the eruption started and how much sulfur dioxide is coming off and where it's spreading and stuff. It's very fascinating. I highly recommend that people do that. Go have a look at Earth Null School and cycle it back in time. If you hit the double arrow back, you go a full day back. If you hit one arrow back, you change 3 hours. And you can really have a look. And the thing about this volcano is it's not big enough right now to alter the planet. And some people are saying, well, it could blow. For a volcano to really alter the planet, you have to, it has to be explosive enough and putting, in a vertical direction. So it has to send lots of ash. It's not the ash that does it, it's the sulfur dioxide up into the stratosphere. So it has to go up, if it's near the equator, it has to go up almost 20 kilometers because near the equator, the stratosphere starts at about 17 kilometers high. So it has to go higher than that, go into the stratosphere. The reason being, if it's just in the lower atmosphere, the troposphere, then it's rained out. So it'll only be in there, the ash and sulfur dioxide and stuff will only last for about a week or so, and then it's rained out by weather. But if it goes up higher above the weather, then it's gravity that pulls it down, and that can take several years for the smallest particles. So when this volcano went off in 63, 64, I believe it lowered the temperature of the planet about 0.3 degrees Celsius for a year, maybe a couple of years. So the volcano has the potential to do that. But I would argue that if it was going to do it, it would have already done it. When volcanoes go, the pressure builds up and they go. Like, we can't predict it ahead of time. We can say, the gases can start coming out. We can say something's going on, maybe in maybe in a day or two. But we don't know the force. And I would say that if it was going to do an explosive eruption enough to alter the climate, it would have already happened. But because it's been erupting for a while, releasing lava, releasing pressure, I'd say the longer, I think it's tapered off a little bit in the last couple of days. Could be wrong on that. But, I would say now is not the time. Probably it's going to have that massive explosion. That's not to say it won't happen in a few months or, a few years or whatever. But I would probably bet that we weren't going to see that right now happening with it, or because it would have done it already. But volcanoes can also erupt sort of sideways. I mean, Mount St. Helens was a sideways eruption, more or less. So there's, had no effect on the climate. Pinatubo in 91, 92 was a massive, volcano. It cooled the planet about 0.5 degrees for 3 years, something like that. So it was a very large volcano. But we've had, much larger volcanoes. The 1815, there was a massive volcano, and it was basically the year without a summer in North America. Snow stayed on the ground. Snow from one winter didn't melt throughout the summer.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the whole idea is that sulfur dioxide in the stratosphere cools the planet. We know this happens. It's happened many times in the past. The sulfur does settle out. It doesn't turn the oceans acidic. It doesn't do all of these. It doesn't kill all the crops on the planet. It's a lack of sunlight that is the risk, and that would happen with a nuclear exchange. Enough dust and stuff would be sent aloft to block the sun and cool the planet. But this is more like putting little tiny mirrors, if you like, in the stratosphere. So we can do this. The amount of sulfur to do this is very low compared to the sulfur that we put into the lower atmosphere from coal burning power plants, especially, in China and India. If you get really low grade coal, so it's more like green or brown coal. It's not really high grade. It's not the black anthracite stuff, the really high grade stuff that we think of, which is very high carbon content. It's much less carbon content, and there's a lot of crap in it, a lot of impurities, including sulfur. And when that stuff is burned in coal burning power plants, it puts huge amounts of sulfur dioxide into the lower atmosphere. But because it's only in the lower atmosphere, it gets rained out within about a week, doesn't alter the climate too much. It doesn't, it can cool things for a week or so. So yeah, the idea of global dimming is what we're talking about. So we can, we have the technology is very easy and it's very inexpensive. In fact, it's the amount of levels, and we're talking, I don't know, a couple $1 billion a year, maybe up to 10 at the most, to cool the planet a degree. if we wanted, and it's almost within the within the realm of like billionaires. Right? You don't need a country to do this.